Chapter 11. Mary woke to the light pouring in through the window. It took her a moment to realize she was in her room at Mrs. Nelson's house. The woman had been friendly the night before, though a little more curious about Mary's past than she would have liked. She supposed that was to be expected, though, as she was opening her house up to a stranger. After dressing for the day, she grabbed the catalog for Mr. Brown and headed to the dining area for breakfast. Mrs. Nelson had informed her that breakfast, at least, came with her board. "Ah, good morning," Mrs. Nelson said as she entered. "I've made some eggs and biscuits for breakfast. They're on the table." "Thank you." Mary sat at the table, but she wasn't sure if she should start eating. At Elizabeth's house, Carl always prayed before eating. "Well, what are you waiting for?" Mrs. Nelson asked, as she set a plate in front of another chair and sat down. "I just wasn't sure if I should wait for you to pray or something." "Wait for me? Why don't you do your own praying?" Mrs. Nelson asked. "I don't know how. I'm not sure I believe in prayer or God." Mrs. Nelson's eyebrows shot up, and Mary was afraid she'd offended the woman, but after a moment, Mrs. Nelson simply nodded. "I suppose I can understand that, but I want you to do something for me. I'll show you how to pray, and I want you to do it even if you don't believe in it, and then tell me if anything happens. Can you make that deal?" "I suppose," Mary said, though she had no idea what was supposed to happen. "Good. The way you pray is simply by thanking your Maker for whatever is in front of you, and occasionally asking for things you need. Keep in mind, though, that while He doesn't mind you asking, they will only be granted if they are His will." Mary nodded, even though she wasn't sure she understood the concept completely. How was praying over food going to make something happen? Still, she listened respectfully while Mrs. Nelson prayed. And she was right. It did seem simple enough. When breakfast was finished, she grabbed the catalog and headed to the store. She couldn't wait to show it to Mr. Brown, but more than that, she wanted to see him again. She knew it was probably unfathomable that he might like a woman with her past, but she couldn't keep her heart from wishing it to be true. She had been hoping to beat Elizabeth to the store, but the wagon out front told her she hadn't. She pushed open the door, determined to give her friend 100% today. "Good morning, Miss Lockwood." "Good morning, Mr. Brown." Mary took a tentative step toward the handsome proprietor. "I brought that catalog I was telling you about." His eyes lit up. "You did? Wonderful. I gave your idea a lot of thought last night, and I think it's a good way for me to go." He took the catalog from her and flipped through the pages. "There's so much here." "Yes, that is the appeal," Mary said, glad that the catalog seemed to please him. "And you're sure that people can order from this and the items just come?" "I do believe that's how it works, though as I said, I've never used it." "Well, this is just amazing." He turned the catalog over. "There's a telegraph number here. Do you mind if I keep this until I can send one?" "No, go right ahead. I don't need it. I'm not even sure why I kept it, as I'll never be able to afford anything in there." Mr. Brown looked up at her, his dark eyes holding her gaze. "Don't say that. I feel that Mrs. Baxter's dress shop is going to take off, and you will be an integral part of that. Plus, if this brings more customers," he held up the catalog, "then I'll be able to give you some hours in the store as well." "Thank you." Mary restrained herself from grabbing his hand and pumping it up and down. "I would be grateful for any extra work. Elizabeth has been so kind to offer me a job, but I don't want to affect her income too badly." Mr. Brown shook his head.
Don't you worry about that. Mrs. Baxter wouldn't have offered the job if she was worried about her income. She has a good heart, maybe the kindest I've seen since my Maggie.
His eyes took on a faraway look, as if he was watching a memory from the past. Was Maggie your wife? Mary asked hesitantly. She hated to break his reverie. Mr. Brown blinked and shook his head, as if clearing the dream away.
She was. Finest woman I ever knew. Unfortunately, typhoid fever took her a few years ago.
I'm so sorry. Mary stood for a minute, unsure of what else to say. She'd faced death in her life, but never the death of a spouse, so she had no idea the right words to say.
Thank you.
Silence fell between them for a moment. Mary knew she should get upstairs and help Elizabeth, but she didn't want to leave just yet. So instead, she pointed to the catalog and asked, Are you going to order something? To test it out, I mean.
Oh, I suppose I should, shouldn't I?
He flipped through the catalog and then looked up at her.
I'm not sure what I should order. Do you have any suggestions?
Mary looked around, her eyes taking in the shelves. He had household items and shaving items, shoes and clothes, but there was one thing she didn't see. Curtains.
Curtains?
He asked, his forehead wrinkled in confusion. She nodded. Yes, curtains. It's so bright and hot here that they're needed, but I notice you don't have any in the store.
Well, that's because women usually make their own curtains. Do you really think there's a need for them in the store?
The women I met yesterday either don't know how or don't have time to sew. I believe you would be filling a need you didn't even know you had, that they didn't know you could fill. Mr. Brown stroked his chin as he considered the idea.
You might be right. Let's see if they have curtains.
He flipped through the pages until he found the pictures for curtains.
Do you have one you'd recommend?
He asked, once again turning the magazine toward her. She looked at the page a little closer and then hesitantly touched a picture. I think these. Mr. Brown nodded.
All right, I'll order these and we'll see what this process is like.
I can't wait to see them, Mary said, heat crawling up her neck. I better get upstairs and help Elizabeth, though. Evidently, we will be cutting out quite a few patterns today.
Busy hands will make the day go faster, he said with a smile.
He was right, but Mary didn't want the day to go faster. She wanted to spend more time with him, but she knew she needed to get upstairs and do her work there. Yes, they will, she said, and then made her way up the stairs. Good morning, Mary, Elizabeth said when she reached the landing. Are you ready to cut out patterns today? As ready as I'll ever be, I suppose. She forced herself to focus on what Elizabeth was saying and not on Mr. Brown's kind smile.